Welcome to In Real Time, where we as Heights Church are inviting you in for real conversations about leading people, organizations, and change in the new normal. We're hoping that our real discussions about our church's journey will help you as you reimagine and rebuild yours. Welcome to part 2 of our conversation, Questions That Spur the Right Change. We've had a great conversation already, and we're going to finish it up today. And if you like this episode, please hit like, subscribe, the bell notification so you don't miss one episode as it drops. And be thinking about a friend you might want to share this content with, because we would love to be able to help others as well. And now, the rest of our conversation.
So you mentioned the green zone. Are we going to talk about that right now?
Yeah, let's do that with question number 3.
Because people are going to go, what?
Question number 3, the green zone is a part of this one. What are we going to start doing?
Yeah.
I know that we have started, we didn't just start, we've done this for quite a while. But
Yeah.
We look at leadership books.
Yeah.
We read articles.
Yeah,
And sometimes those things are going to challenge
Mm-hmm.
our thinking. But we're not afraid of that.
Yeah, we're not afraid of
Because
it.
we don't want to get in that rut.
Yeah, listen to podcasts.
Oh my gosh,
every
yeah.
week, constantly.
Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely. And so with that, kind of what Justin was alluding to is, one of these books talked about green zone and yellow zone.
Yeah, Carrie Newhoff's book, and it's really good. I forget the title right now.
I've been racking my brain. I almost called it Patrick
At your
Wood's-
best.
At your best. That's
The
so
Peanut
good.
Gallery just handed that one to us.
Yes,
Thank
they
you, Peanut
did.
Gallery.
That was
You guys
really
are
good.
awesome.
Yeah, we're
I
acting
actually
like
knew
they're
it.
not
I was
really
just
there.
Did you?
Did you seriously?
I
You knew
did.
it?
I did.
Left us just hanging there.
I did. I was like,
you
oh,
could
this is
have
going to be.
totally just served that one up right there. That would be great.
Yeah.
So in a nutshell, At Your Best talks about 3 different zones. It's
Yeah.
red, yellow, and green.
Yeah.
Green being your best. This is when you're the most effective, you're the most creative, the most, like that's your best bandwidth time.
Yeah.
Yellow, not so much.
You're
but
on the
it's-
on-ramp,
Yeah,
off-ramp.
You're on the off
You're on
ramp.
the
It's not.
off-ramp.
But you're still effective. You're still pretty creative, but it's not
Yeah.
necessarily like your best.
Right.
Red zone, creativity is kind of out the window. You can still get things done. You're functioning, obviously,
Yeah.
but your brain just doesn't have the same oomph
Yeah.
that it did in your green zone, right?
Yeah.
Like that's
We all have them.
right. We totally
For sure.
do. And what's funny is when we went through this, we realized our green zones are different from
Yeah.
one another.
Right, which is why you had to write a book about it,
Yeah.
because we're all different.
Well, and just what's funny, I think what we were talking about this for us, we lean into our green zones now. Like I write specifically our life group curriculum in my green zone.
Correct.
I don't write it in my yellow or the red
Yeah.
because I'm not effective there.
So this is one of those things you started doing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
same.
otherwise I sit in front of my computer going,
Yeah, this comes back to that schedule piece of blowing it up.
absolutely.
Yeah, I love that. That's why I study in the mornings for the
Yeah.
first 4 hours. But then when I get into 12 to 1, I'm starting to hit my yellow.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Same.
I'm done. Just be done with it. Move on. I could do other things after that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's
Meetings,
really good.
conversations, those kinds of things are fine in those
Yeah.
windows.
Yeah, yeah.
But what I liked about it is that we're not afraid to dive into those articles and those books and those podcasts
Yeah.
to challenge the way that we think. Because when we were prepping for this episode, it came up like we automatically do this now. And it changed us for the better.
For the better,
So
yeah.
it's like we weren't afraid to start doing something different.
Right.
And so I think people have a hard time stop doing things they've always done, and then they're reluctant to start to do something new.
Exactly.
Because the old system is working,
Yeah.
but maybe it's not your best.
Right.
So challenge yourself to start doing new things.
Yeah.
And challenge yourself.
Yeah,
Because
I agree.
it's just a good way to polish it up and get sharp.
So good.
Yeah.
It really, really is good. I think one of the things I started doing was studying out of the office, because when I'm here, I'm an extrovert and I hear people in the hallway and they're having fun, specifically you, laughing and having fun. And I want to go
That's why I'm his favorite.
and be a part of the conversation.
He said it in the last podcast.
That's what I wanted. I'm not commenting anymore on that. And I do. I am seriously drawn to it. It's distracting.
I know. know.
And I cannot stay on point. And so I go out to a cafe, there's conversations all around me, but I can totally zone in. It's no big deal.
Yeah.
I was there this morning and I thoroughly loved it. I'm almost done with my message for the week.
I have to wear noise
awesome.
canceling headphones in my office with the door shut and music playing.
Yeah.
That's how I tune out the rest of the office.
Nice.
That's good.
They literally sit on my desk. They are my, and it's funny. Yeah. I've gotten myself to the point now when I put them on, it's go time.
Like
I don't, the
your
world
ritual.
goes away at that point. So
that's good.
Yeah.
All right. So the other thing is, what are you going to start doing? We're going to start with different meeting schedule. That goes back to the blow it all up. And we asked the question, do we need all these meetings? Can we shorten it? Do we need to lengthen it? Do we need to ask different people to be in different meetings?
That was important.
That was also important. But you need to start. You need to initiate these conversations. Because here's what I know. Not everybody wants to be in every meeting that I'm in. In fact, there's a lot of people that don't. They really don't want to be in that meeting.
Yeah.
And there's people that it's ineffective for them to be there.
Yeah, no,
It slows the process down.
It
and it's not that they're not good and they don't have good insight.
Right,
but you can have too many chiefs in a room.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
And it's easier. It's paring down so that you can be at your best.
Right. And then they're going to be at the meetings that they need to be.
Correct.
And it's good for
frees them up.
Exactly.
Well, it goes back to the question, of stopping. One of the things I had to stop is I don't need to have a voice in everything. If you trust your teammates, and you're on a team,
it's good.
And it's not siloed, you can trust the decisions that come out of a meeting because it's for the greater good. It's the good of the whole team, not just, oh my gosh, they made this decision without me. I don't care.
Yeah, that's good. I like that. That's really good. Okay, so start doing. What are you going to start doing in 2023 that is going to make a big impact, or maybe you think it might make an impact? And here's the thing. That's what I want to encourage people. You don't actually know necessarily, but try it.
Right.
And a word we use around here a lot is experiment.
Yep.
I'm going to experiment with this new schedule or this new thing for the next month. And I want to see if it yields a return.
Right.
And if it does, I'm going to keep doing it. If it doesn't, I'm going to change it or go back to what was more effective. We have to be open to change.
Yeah,
because that's how we get better.
Right. I think about one of these things that just happened recently. Pastor Ryan, he presented this idea of changing up the service order.
Yeah.
And then we're like, hey, it made sense. And so we talked about it. We made those decisions. We started doing that. And I remember the conversation after week 1 and then week 2, as we were quarterbacking how that went.
Yeah.
We had to remind ourselves, no, let's just stay at it for a month or so. Let's just see how it goes. And we weren't afraid to start something new and try something new. Whereas I know some churches and some organizations, you even try to breach the conversation about changing the service order.
Yeah.
Your time is limited there.
You're not kidding.
Like, oh, he's not a team player. He doesn't realize we've been doing it this way, and this is how Jesus did it.
Jesus,
or whatever.
Jesus did 3 points.
Oh, yeah. Positive.
But I love that. On the fly in one meeting, we're like, hey, it's
good.
Let's try it.
Let's do it.
That's good.
Don't be afraid to start something.
I like
new.
how you brought him up because he's over here listening, and
he's making me sound good. Looking
good. New favorite right now.
That's right.
Yeah. That's good. Okay, so what are you blowing up? Start over. If you could start all over, what would you blow up? What do you stop doing? What are you going to start doing? And then number 4, what are you going to exercise faith for? After all, we are in the faith business.
Yeah, that's
right.
Yeah. What are you going to exercise faith for in 2023? Anything that comes to mind for you guys on this one?
Well, it's interesting. We had some big shifts moving into this year at the end of 2022. So for me personally, you guys have been talking to me probably, I don't even know how long Tim's been bugging me about the young adults. We have an 18 to 25-year-old group that, he's been like, hey, you should be their pastor. I'm like, yeah, no, I'm good. I love them. I'm good. I don't want to be there full time, like, the go-to guy for them. And, it took some time for God to move in my heart.
Yeah.
Took some time. I mean, Tim knew out of his sabbatical, he was just feeling that God calling him. Yeah. Just God calling him to do something different. My name came up in his mind. He brought it to you. We started to have these conversations and
you said no.
I did. I said no. I was like, no, I don't have the bandwidth. I've got too many things going on.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to.
And I was in agreement.
Right. And so, but as time moves on, and we're always asking the question, what do you need to stop? What do you need to start? Lord, where do you want me to shift?
Yep.
What do you need me to do? What are you calling me to? As you ask those questions, the tug on my heart was so clear at that point that I needed to step in there.
Yeah.
But it was his timing. I needed to hear it from him in the right space at the right time for it to go click. And it went, oh, yeah, of course it is. Duh.
Yeah.
Of course it's me. But the great thing is that piece of faith, sometimes it's the faith to wait and not to rush the process. That was a big deal for us.
Yeah.
Is, sometimes you run into these roadblocks and you immediately want to throw a fix at it.
Yeah.
What's the fix? What's the fix? What's the fix? And we didn't have the fix for months.
We didn't. It was months.
It was months. And we were...
But we had the faith to know it was going to get worked out. Yeah. God was going to figure it out.
Yeah.
So that we knew that the things needed to happen.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I love the fact that you could enter into that waiting period. You could enter into that waiting period. I could enter into it. As a senior leader, it meant a lot to me that you guys were willing to say, okay, you know what? Let's just seek God on it. Let's
keep
just
being
wait.
faithful and see what's going on.
Yeah, instead of getting mad, like Craig's pressuring me to do this or that. It's like, no, we're just going to wait on the Lord and then
and I didn't even feel that.
See what happens.
That's the funny thing is I never felt that from you.
Yeah.
I felt it from him, but that's okay because we're friends. I mean, and I don't mean it in
Only
bad.
because I knew the Holy Spirit was
He's
right.
like, oh,
Yeah,
the Holy Spirit
yeah.
already told me this, so
Yeah,
you just
yeah.
need to say yes.
And that was before he was a better man. He didn't have his Apple Ultra watch at that time.
You need
It's
to pray
changed
about it
his
and say
life
yes,
since he's gotten
Justin.
it, which is why
Now
I want
I hear
to.
the Lord even
Now,
There it is.
absolutely, it's more
But
clear.
It really, I mean, the honest truth was I didn't feel pressure to rush the process.
Yeah.
I felt that, you know what, I just was given
What faith
permission to
does.
sit with Jesus in the midst
Yeah.
of it
Yeah.
and let him lead me there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if it wasn't me, it would have been someone else that he would have brought to the space.
Yeah.
And that's how I felt about it.
Yeah.
Is
That's
God's
how I
going to
felt.
bring the right person at the right time. We
Yeah.
just need to keep moving forward.
Yeah, because I knew for sure that you were meant to go to the online piece, the online pastor, and the other duties that you're taking on. I knew that had to happen. I just knew somehow it was, if God's moving this, then there's going to be other pieces. It will come, and we'll understand it when the time is right.
Yeah.
And it's exactly how it unfolded. So good. And I found that just over the years, I've learned not to try to fix it.
Yeah.
Throw something at it, because that's how I want to be. That's my initial reaction naturally, but I've learned to restrain and to wait and to give God space and time. It's always better.
Yeah.
It's always better that way.
Better fit.
Yeah. Unless there's an urgency to it. But we didn't have it. We had the space. So it was good. Yeah.
Right.
That's good. Okay. So exercising faith for, this is a balance of resources and faith, no doubt.
Right.
Yeah.
And I would just say one of those two, and we don't have to unpack this one for a lot, but I know 7 years ago, we made a decision to move to a life groups church, not a church with groups,
church.
but a life groups church. We literally center everything around our groups. And how many groups we have functioning currently? We just wrapped up
65, I think, is what we
65
wrapped
groups
up
right
this
now.
last quarter with, yeah.
So our schedule as a church works around that for the whole year.
Yep.
And it's amazing, but that's not how it always has been.
No,
but we leaned into it and said, that's how it's going to be.
Yeah.
We moved into that and we said, okay, events are going to start coming back. We're not we're going to pull back on the amount so that we can make room for these groups. And that was a faith move.
It was.
And it was like this day we flipped a switch, and then the next day, and we were a life groups church.
Yeah.
And then we started leaning into all that. God did amazing things.
Yeah, he has.
Amazing things.
Continues to do amazing
Yeah.
things.
does.
And now, even with our in-person attendance, we're sitting at about 85% to
roughly.
90% of our life groups, and our in-person attendance being in a life group as well.
Which is insane.
It blows the mind.
Yeah.
And pre-COVID, we were at 85 to 90% of our Sunday morning attendance as well. So it was the backbone of our church. Thank goodness it was.
Kept us together.
It did.
Brought it out.
It really did. So that was a faith move. 1 year ago, we realized we had to get our financial house in order. And we said, hey, 1 year ago, we're going to have to do a campaign. That was a faith move because we had to get our feet underneath us as a church. That was a faith move. That's why we did it. And those are the kind of things that we have to lean into. And this is what we get to do in 23 and say, hey, 2023, what are we going to have faith for? That's huge. It's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another one is a senior lead. You guys know Pastor Cheryl. She stepped out of the executive pastor role.
Yes.
Yep.
And this is the first time in 11 years I haven't had her around. She's only been the executive pastor for probably 8.
No.
Long time. 7 to
That's
8
true. 'Cause
years.
she was just on staff as a life
Yeah.
group's pastor.
Yeah. Yeah. She was unofficially.
Yeah.
Everybody looked to her for the executive role, but
true.
we finally just gave her the title.
Yeah,
but,
true.
When she stepped down, then we took the management team, which is a smaller group of our pastors, and I said, you know what? I'm going to have faith that team can now take on the same role, and I'm not going to rehire an executive pastor. We're going to take those duties and responsibilities and authority. We're going to hand it to that team. That was a faith move on my part
As the senior leader.
because I knew this was something that as I got with God, I knew I could do.
Yeah.
And I wanted to do, and I know that the team was ready to do this, but it's still a faith move, and it was a new role for everybody on the team.
Yeah.
But wow, what a great choice. And that only happened because of a faith move. But that's real. As senior leaders, those are the kind of next steps we have to take.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm curious from staff perspective, do you need me as a senior leader to exercise faith?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like that's almost a
Kind of a
no-brainer.
dumb question,
Well,
isn't it?
no, I mean,
Well, it is a dumb question, really. I mean, of course the answer is yes,
Yeah. But it,
man.
But a lot
sometimes it
of
feels hard
leaders,
to do.
especially if they've been in an organization or church for a long time,
Yeah.
yeah.
they get into their daily routine.
Right. Yeah.
And you don't see much acting or leading with faith because this has worked. So
Yeah.
this is going to continue to work.
Right.
So we're
Yeah.
going to continue in that. And
Right.
and I've been parts of, and wanting to like, let's do something. Let's man, God is challenging us to do something.
Yep.
But that wasn't my role. And you're just kind of waiting and thinking, well, we guess here's the next year's coming. I guess we're going to do the same thing.
Do the exact same thing.
Because it worked.
Yeah.
And guess what? It worked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like, I felt like sometimes, you feel like sometimes what God is calling for a deeper
Yeah.
commitment. He wants to challenge your faith. He's got a bigger vision
Yep.
for you.
Yeah.
And you can miss it.
Yeah. We
So-
can miss it.
So as a staff member who's been
Yeah.
on your team or with you for a long time,
Yeah.
every time he goes on a long vacation or a sabbatical,
true.
Yeah.
we brace ourselves
yeah.
for literally what's coming.
We should record those.
We
lunch
literally have
conversations.
these coffee conversations.
He's coming back on
okay,
Monday.
he's coming back.
Right.
Get ready to hit the gas, y'all. 'Cause
Maybe we'll just do a podcast of
Yes.
here's what I'm thinking now.
he
Yes.
has all kinds of new ideas of what he wants to do, and
Like a lot of us,
God's
that time
speaking
you're
to
gone,
him,
we're like
and-
clearing our
Oh,
schedules
he's
because we know
not
we're going to be
joking.
doing something different.
It is absolutely
fact.
the truth.
Yeah.
Every time you're on, like,
great.
oh, he's got 2 weeks. I'm like, okay, on this day,
Yeah.
he's coming back. So just brace yourselves, man. We're gonna get the. Are you ready for this? Here come those meetings.
Yeah. Well,
But
that's because I finally get the bandwidth, because by
Oh,
the time
no,
you
we
get to
know.
those vacation
Yeah.
times, you're spent.
Yeah.
And you get some space and you're like,
Get some
I can
rest.
feel
Margin
faith
and-
again
You start
running
getting
in my
creative
veins.
again. So
Yeah.
I mean, the truth is, that's one of the things we rely on for you is that you're going to go take that time, do that
Yeah.
work,
that's good.
find that space.
Yeah. Senior
we trust
leaders
that.
need to hear that.
Absolutely,
They do.
Yes.
We want that. We
We
want them to go.
that for you.
Yeah.
100%.
We want you healthy
Yeah.
so that you can lead us in a healthy way,
Right.
so that we can lead others in a healthy way.
Yeah. Yeah. And I need for you to step out in faith with me.
Mm-hmm.
You need to be healthy so when you hear faith, it inspires you. It resonates with you
Mm-hmm.
because there's some ideas that I have that are just dumb. And you guys are able to say, I'm not sure about that.
And that's
And
usually
that
the phrase.
happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's been things I did. I can't think of one right now, but I know Cheryl has told me no as an executive pastor. Like, no, I think that's I don't know about that.
I'm not sure about that idea.
Yeah, she's told me that many times, and you know what?
Hey,
she was
bud.
right.
Hey, bud.
She was right.
Hey, bud.
Hey, bud. I don't know if we
But
should be doing that.
faith resonates.
She's gonna listen to this
Yeah.
and be
Hey,
like,
bud.
"Oh, those guys are in so much trouble."
I can hear her saying it right
Yeah,
now.
she's still-
hey,
yeah.
bud.
Hey,
She's
bud.
his favorite, so it's okay.
That's true.
Oh, that's good. All right. Okay. So those are some
not
great
even
things. We could keep talking about this, but
Yeah,
the bottom
it's
line
good.
is, what are you going to exercise faith for? All right. So number 5, what's this one? Number 5.
It's who's missing on your team.
Yeah. Give me a synopsis of what we're talking about here.
This boils down to two places. Okay, so is there a need ministry-wise? So like you used the example earlier when we were talking about a Celebrate Recovery or recovery ministry.
Mm-hmm.
We have people with needs who are in addiction. They need recovery.
Yeah.
we don't have a person to lead that ministry. We need somebody. So that's
Right.
who's missing. That's
that
one
could
part.
be somebody
that-
right now listening in.
Right.
Yeah.
That
Your
is
church doesn't have it.
And it may be you. And so, man, maybe it's time, God, for you to step out in faith and say, okay, this is my next steps. So that's the first half of that question.
Yeah.
The other half of that question, it becomes, is who's missing on my team? Mm-hmm. Like, who's next? This is a question we ask all of our life leaders to be asking their life groups. Who's next in my group? Mm-hmm. Because the only way we're ever going to raise new leaders is from within.
Yeah.
And my nets only go so far. Your nets only go so far.
That's right.
So I need the nets of my life group leaders reaching into their groups where I don't have access.
That's right.
And so them asking the question, who's next?
Yeah.
Is how we grow our life groups.
It's good. Yep. I think about in the beginning of the pandemic, we knew that we needed an online pastor, and I made that declaration. We needed an online pastor. I don't know how this is going to get worked out. I don't know who, and I honestly didn't, but I knew that we needed it. We needed to start talking about it. And eventually that became you.
Yeah, not even.
Yeah, over a course of time, that became you.
Yeah.
And it was a you and a me and a conversation and giving God space and time and faith and all that, but it came together. And that's what we're talking about.
Right.
Who's missing?
Yeah.
And so that was 2020. We made that decision end of 2021.
Yeah, right in the middle.
But we didn't make the shift. We made the
September.
shift.
Yeah, we made the
about
shift.
a year later.
Yeah, about a year later. But we started thinking about it, started investigating it. And that couples with back to 4 a little bit, not to rewind, but we need to exercise faith sometimes when roles shift.
Yeah.
And not be afraid of it, because stepping out of a role that had been going for 25, 26 years, and now all of a sudden you're stepping in, you're exercising faith, because there was that question, who's missing on our team?
Yeah.
And sometimes it's that person's on your team.
Right.
And you just may have to shift.
Yes.
And you do it. And that's faith. That's recognizing there's a need in ministry, not just volunteer, but like you said, there's a need.
Yeah.
An online church was a huge need.
It's good. Yeah.
So you step into it.
Yeah. And then Bronson on our team was able to step up into a new role, and it's been just great. Love it.
Yeah.
Okay. So create the expectation, and
People
things begin to appear. People appear.
Communicate it.
And then the last question here is, what could be more effective, or what could be better? Better. Yeah. And I think the thing I had for this was specifically just moving towards, and I always have to keep refining this process, but I want to become more and more a specialist of what I do rather than a generalist, because as a senior leader, the less I do, the better I become at those things. And I think the better our overall church organization becomes, because then other people can become specialists in those things that I'm handing off. Like I could have said, well, I'll do the online pastor because there's nobody to do it, which is what often happens. But I knew that couldn't be, because then I would be, I don't have time for it.
Right.
And I knew that it would never go anywhere if I was the one doing it.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
I also think it's important to ask too, is not what, when we say what could be better, that's a great question. That's that evaluating, that's that quarterbacking, looking like, how do we make this better? But also saying, maybe when you say what could be more effective, the true form of that question, some of that may mean you need to stop, you need to cut something.
Yeah.
To be better, you've got to trim it.
Are you saying something I might have to stop doing?
Yeah.
Oh, that goes back to,
and that's how you're going to be more effective.
sometimes it can be.
How do I be more effective? Well, we're going to stop doing that.
We got to cut this to be able to give this our attention.
Yeah. Well, we literally just did this with our daily devos, right? Summing up devotions. We've been doing it since the pandemic started, but we recently said this is something that it's not really yielding the overall impact that it used to, because people are back.
Yeah, we're back in church.
Right.
Yeah.
And online campus, they're back with us, and they're back in groups. So now we just need to say we need to do less. It gave our children's pastor, Jennifer Alessio, about 8 to 10 hours back into her monthly schedule, if not more, which is better. She can now use that to do other things. And so it's just better.
Correct.
Absolutely.
So good.
It falls in everything. Like, can we do stuff in our own individual ministries more effectively? Like, how do we write life groups more in a way that people have not just an experience with God, not just knowledge, but how do you apply this?
That's good. Yeah.
How do you live this out in your life? And so it shifted these questions shifted the way I write. I mean, I've been doing it for 7 years now alongside of you. And so it changed the way we write life group notes by asking this question.
Yeah.
How do we do it better to make it more effective, to have better conversations?
Yeah.
That was a game changer.
Nice.
And I hear it from our group leaders and all the time of how the discussions are going. So
That's good.
It's
That's
great stuff.
Are you looking at your watch because we're going long?
No,
You wanna
just getting
know?
text messages.
You getting
You're asking how can we be more effective?
You're
may,
like, I'm going to make use of
Rapid,
podcast time.
it may be that we're,
That's hilarious. Hey,
so funny.
this has been really great. So for the wrap
fantastic.
up, just to say
Yeah.
specifically, if you could blow it up, start all over, what would it look like?
Yeah, that's good.
What would you stop doing? What would you start doing? What would you exercise more faith for? What's missing? Who's missing specifically on your team? And what could be more effective? Great questions. And if you ask them all, you're going to come up with some answers
Yeah, you're gonna have
that
a
will be
list.
helpful in 2023 that I believe will change how you experience the new year. And if you don't ask these questions, nothing's going to change.
Nope.
It's going to stay exactly the same. Maybe fine, but don't we want it better?
Yeah.
I think we do.
Absolutely.
Love it.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for having a real conversation about leading people, organization, and change with me today. And we want to thank you for being with us. And please hit like or subscribe. And yes, the bell notification so that you can get each podcast as it drops. We so appreciate you being with us today. And we will see you next time.